Welcome to VBSM Academy. This is lesson number 6, Electronics, Conductors, Insulators and Semiconductors. So conductors, insulators and semiconductors are the important topic today. Conductors are the materials or substances which allow electricity and heat to flow through them. What is conductors? What is conductivity? What are conductors? You have studied all these things in your previous high schools and colleges. Well, my dear friends, they conduct electricity because they allow electrons to flow. You should know what are electrons and how they are flowing from one place to another place and all. So electrons to flow easy inside them from one atom to another. In physics and electrical engineering, a conductor is an object or type of material that allows the flow of charge in one or more directions. Materials made up of metal are common electrical conductors. The conductor, any material that flows electric current to pass through it, as you know that, but copper, aluminum, steel, any metal, they are all conductors. Quite opposite to the conductors, they are good conductors. Automatically, the insulators are nothing but bad conductors. That means they do not pass electric current or heat through them. Any material that does not allow electric current to pass through it. So, example, plastic, rubber, glass, cloth, wood, etc. These are the important concepts comes in basic electronics, conductors and insulators. Well friends, there is important thing to know about the in-between. There are certain substances between conductors and insulators properties. They obey the conductors and insulators properties both. Such materials belongs to semiconductors. Semi means of conductivity, of insulators. This is the specialty of science. So conductivity in metals and semiconductors and insulators, the topic. The conductors are generally substances which have the property to pass different types of energy. In the following, the conductivity of electricity is the value of interest. Generally, the aluminium is the metal. It consists of aluminium 3 plus ions, that is aluminium ion, which is a good conductor of heat and electricity. The conductivity of metals is based on free electrons, so-called Fermi gas. The flow of free electrons, you can imagine. Imagine yourself, the flow of free electrons is nothing but it is a Fermi gas. It is called Fermi gas. In the objective type of examinations, they will call what is Fermi gas. Fermi gas is nothing but the conductivity of metals based on the free electrons. Those free electrons, the group of free electrons which are flowing in the conductivity process is called Fermi gas. Due to the metal bonding, that is very important. So now, metallic bonding. What is that metallic bonding? Fixed ions and free valence electrons, Fermi gas. Free valence electrons. What are valence electrons? The outermost orbital electrons are called valence electrons in the atomic structure. You should know it. The conductivity depends upon inter alia on the temperature. If the temperature rises, the metal atoms swing ever stronger so that the electrons are constrained in their moments. Consequence, the resistance increases. So, my dear friends, conductivity in metal is a measure of material's ability to transmit heat or electricity or sound even. Metals conduct electricity by allowing free electrons to move between the atoms. These electrons are not associated with a single atom or covalent bond. Since like charges, you know that like charges repels and unlike charges attracts, the law of electrostatic force. So, like charges repel each other, the moment of one free electron within the lattice dislodges those in the next atom, and the process repeats, moving in the direction of the current towards the positively charged end. The reciprocal of conductivity is called resistance. Reciprocal of the conductivity is called resistance. What is resistance of a conductor? It is nothing but the resisting, not to allow, resisting, or the ability to reduce the flow of electrons or flow of those things. Very important. Reciprocal of conductivity is called resistance. The conductors, that generally substances which have the property to pass different types of energy. In the following, conductivity of electricity is the value of interest. Metals, what are metals? The conductivity of metal is purely based upon the free electrons, so-called Fermi gas, due to the metal bonding. Already with low energy, electrons become sufficiently detached from the atoms and conductivity is achieved. Metallic bonding, fixed ions and free valence electrons, Fermi gas. Valence electrons means immediately should remember the Fermi gas. The conductivity depends inertia alia, that is very important. Now, in addition to metal, salts can also conduct electricity. There are no free electrons. So, the conductivity depends upon ions, which can be solved when a salt is melting or dissolving, so that the ions are free to move. Now, coming to what are semiconductors. Semiconductors are the materials which have conductivity between conductors, generally metals, and non-conductors or insulators, such as most ceramics. In between there is a hybrid state. It's not hybrid actually. Some materials are having both the metallic metals as well as the non-metals. Such materials are called semiconductors. Semiconductors can be pure elements such as silicon or germanium, or compounds such as gallium arsenide or cadmium selenide. In a process called doping, small amounts of impurities are added to pure semiconductors, causing large changes in the conductivity of the material. Here in the basic electronics, you should know the terminology doping. Doping is nothing but addition of some amount of impurities to the pure semiconductors like silicon, germanium, etc. Then there is a lot of change. The property has been changed, the conductivity of the material. Due to the role in the fabrication of electronic devices, semiconductors are an important part of our lives. Imagine life without electronic devices. You can imagine today the high-tech world. There would be no radios, no televisions, no computers, no video games, and no medical diagnostic equipments, although many electronic devices could be made using vacuum tube technology. The developments in semiconductor technology during the past 50 years have made electronic devices smaller, faster, or more reliable. Think for a minute of all encounters you have with electronic devices today, what we are using every day, every moment, every second in our high-tech life, my dear friend. Electronic devices are common. Even a common man can use the electronic devices. How many of the following you have seen are used in the last 24 hours? Each has important components that have been manufactured in electronic materials, you know that. Conductivity in the metals and semiconductors and insulators, coming to between the two positively charged atomic nuclei and the shared negatively charged electrons between them. That is insulators. All insulators, they are nothing but the bad conductors. All gases generally are insulators. Some of the ceramics are also insulator. Example, plastic, rubber, air, wood, glass, mica sheets and all, they all belong to the insulators or the bad conductors. The atomic bond is based on the sharing of electrons pair of nonmetals. The elements which behave like nonmetals have the desire to catch electrons, thus there are no free electrons which might serve as charge carriers. Example, hydrogen is having only one electron. This is hydrogen bonding, sharing of electron. Coming to the ionic bond, in the solid state, ions are arranged in a grid network. By electrical forces, the particles are held together. there are no free charge carriers to enable a circuit flow, current flow. Thus, substances composed of ions can be both conductor and insulators. For example, sodium atom is having electrons and chlorine atoms. The electronic configuration of sodium and chlorine, the transference of electrons forming ionic bond between the sodium and chlorine. Electronic devices such as microwave oven, electronic balance, video games, radio, television, VCR, that is a video cassette recorder or a video recorder, watch, CD, compact disc player, that is stereo, then computer lights, air conditioners, calculators, telephone, musical greeting cards, diagnostic equipment, clock, electronic clocks, refrigerators, car security devices, electric stove or solar stove or whatever it may be, are having electronic devices and equipments. Thank you for listening. See you again in the next forthcoming classes, that is